Hi, I'm Julie. Hi, how you guys doing?
Great.
I'm Julie Joffrey. I'm the intervention specialist for the Elite Graduate Program. And today we are honored to have some great ladies from the Writing Center, from CASA Writing Center. They're going to talk about strategies for extended writing projects. Our speakers today are Noelle Balmer, Michelle Garza, and Jillian Lalor. And let's give a warm welcome for Noelle.
Do I have to hold it?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming. We're here to talk about some of the struggles we might have as writers for these extended writing projects. And that could be anything from a capstone project to a thesis or a dissertation. Today we're going to try to provide some tips and strategies, what to do if you get blocked, and how to keep you writing. We're also going to try to form some writing groups if you're interested, and we're going to roll out our Maymester writing retreat. So how many of you really get stuck writing?
I do.
Yeah. What are some of the troubles that you have getting in the writing?
Part of it for me is lack of self-confidence. And then another part is the wanting to have it right from the beginning. Like I hear the just blah on your paper, just put it out there. But I don't even know how to blah.
Beginning. Okay. And what,
Just getting started.
getting started?
You know, the blank page sitting and staring at me.
Blank page. Do you feel anxiety when you see that blank page?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the good thing is this is common to everybody. Everybody feels this way. You're not alone. I feel this way, Jillian feels this way, Michelle feels this way. So what we hope to do is to try to help you get through some of these issues. Now, we're not miracle workers, but we're going to provide some strategies. Okay. So I passed out a handout for you guys, and it's just and I don't like this power, what you call it, it doesn't just hit enter. There we go. And we're going to talk about some general strategies. We've got these from these texts and also from interviewing other writers who have been successful. And we'll pass around the texts for you later. But some writers try, when they're getting started, to just talk out your ideas. You don't have to have a piece of paper in front of you. You don't have to have that computer yet. You just got some ideas in your head, right? So it's really good just to sit down and talk about your ideas. Complaining. I know that sounds funny, but a lot of stuff happens as you're just complaining about your writing. And it goes back to talking about your ideas, talking these things out with someone. It could be your grandma, it could be your husband, it could be a writing consultant, it could be your advisor, it could be Julie. I mean, and they don't even have to understand what you're talking about. You're just talking it out. Other strategies are reading the scholarship. And that means you have a seed of an idea, and then you take it to the scholarship and see what else can be found. A lot of ideas can be generated just by reading the scholarship. I tend to get stuck in the reading the scholarship phase, meaning I just keep reading and reading and reading, never sit down to write. But for some writers, that's one of the strategies that they use. And another idea, and Michelle likes to do this one, is just always have something to jot your ideas down. Carry it in your purse, have something with you, a little notepad, or use color-coded sticky notes. Take personal notes in the articles that you're reading. My best ideas come to me in the shower when I'm washing my hair. I don't know why. It's like it stimulates the brain. I don't know. And I have nothing to write on, so I have to run out of the shower when I'm done and write these ideas down because I'll forget them. So always carry something with you because you never know when these ideas are going to strike. So keep something with you at all times to write. Enter. Okay. So one of the hardest parts is setting dates and getting, you know, a plan going. But one thing that works is setting a date for your, at least your topic proposal. And we don't want to say, you know, your thesis or your dissertation proposal, but just something for yourself that you want to have a time or a deadline for yourself where you know that you've got your topic ironed out. And it's okay if your topic changes. That's part of the process, is that it's going to change and your ideas are going to change. And it all depends on what you're reading or what you happen to be learning about. And that's okay, that's part of the process. And then keeping in mind that extended writing projects take 2 times as long as we thought it would take. And I'm so guilty of this. I have like 7 or 8 writing projects going on at a time, and I think, I'm just gonna hammer this out. It'll only take me 3 or 4 days. I can just get this little section done. It always takes twice that time. And then I get on these highs. I'm like, this is great. I get the introduction done. I'm like, this is great. I can do this. And then I run into a wall. So it's always going to take. So leave room for the hiccups. Really a great strategy that a lot of writers have used successfully, and I believe Lisa Wright had already said that she had tried it and it worked well for her, was forming a writing group. And it can be interdisciplinary, and that's just to make yourself accountable to a group of other people. You know, okay, we're going to meet, like she said, on Wednesdays, and we're going to bring 2 pages. Right? So you make yourself accountable to somebody else. And again, this is just the getting started phase. Okay, choosing a topic. Ouch. This is the hard one. Because I want to do everything. I want to write about everything. Try to pick a topic that sustains interest but is not overly ambitious. And that means we all want to save the world. We really do. But can we do it with the time that we've got? Probably not. Another suggestion that some of the texts offer are to try to avoid topics with emotional connections or something that we have an axe to grind, because our research might turn out to be disappointing. Yes, we want to be passionate about our topic, but if we're looking at, you know, maybe suicide rates and we've just lost somebody in our family, and then we do a study, we might not like what we find out. So we want to be passionate about our topics, but maybe not something that's too close to home. Does that make sense? Try to pick a topic that allows you to make an original contribution. And that's what they try to prime us to do in the doctoral program, right? Fill a gap in the research, join the conversation. Well, how are we going to know what that conversation is unless we're reading the scholarship and talking to other people in our field and visiting with our mentors or advisors or whoever? And that's really key, because it goes back to talking ideas out, but we're not going to know if we've got anything to contribute unless we look at what's already been out there and visit with people who know better than we do or have more familiarity with the field. Let's see. Okay, now we're going from idea to a researchable question. And we do a whole workshop on writing research, graduate research writing projects and developing a research question, but we're just going to briefly touch on this a little bit. Generating researchable questions. A lot of ideas can come out of brainstorming, and we've heard brainstorming since we were kids, right? Bubble maps and all this sort of stuff. But we tend to edit ourselves or go, that's stupid, or that's a dumb idea, right? Let's try openly and non-critically listing some ideas just as they pop into your head. You can return to that list in a couple days, scratch out the stuff that's not relevant, pick up the stuff that is, and then check it against the scholarship. Then you might have some good insights from that. The key there is don't edit yourself. That's where we block ourselves, is because we're editing ourselves, right? Okay. And if we have that research group or that writing group or people in our class that we're doing a group project with, we can brainstorm with a small group. And I tend to do best with a group because I just like to talk. So somebody's a scribe and they jot down these ideas and they withhold judgment. They're not saying that's stupid. They're just getting the ideas out. And that's that whole collaborative learning, right? Shared ideas, that kind of stuff. And then later, make sure you're taking notes too after the scribe has written them down. But later you can check those ideas against the literature and the scholarship to, again, scratch out, go back, find what might be relevant. Okay, so setting goals. Setting goals. Here, Miss Michelle, Miss Michelle.
I keep it here. Okay. Oh, I have to go over there.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. So,
She can't see. We gotta move.
Oh, go stand over here.
okay. So basically, when you start like any kind of extended writing project, whether you're doing like a thesis or a dissertation, typically you want to have some kind of plan. This kind of came from my own experience writing a thesis. Mostly I came up with like a process plan, like a plan for how I was going to lay out my whole process. So basically how you kind of plan to achieve your goals. So one of the key things that you do like during it, you want to like have like, like in making sure that you have like your topic and stuff like that, and generating your own topic and things like that. And you could set like a timeline for when you create these things. When am I going to have my topic like set? When can I have my topic proposal ready for my chair? And I did a lot of talking with my own chair, like in my committee, to determine these things together and stuff. But like in the process of all of this, you want to identify like how you like to write specifically. What kind of atmosphere do you write in best, to determine the time of day that you want to write, etc., things like that. So do you write on computer, paper, or pen best? Are there certain places? Do you need noise? Do you need people around you? Do you need to be in a quiet space? Do you need music playing? Do you need a glass of wine? Do you need to be drunk? Or I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. No, but and the key is a lot of times we hear that I can only write when I'm inspired, but you don't want to wait to be inspired. You want to determine what that atmosphere is that's going to inspire you and push you to write and make you write for yourself, and it gives you a lot more control over your own writing and the whole experience. To begin with. So, and then also setting timelines, again, going back to that, like you set timelines for when you're going to have things due, but keep them loose. You don't want it to be too rigid, and you don't want to be too rigid with it and stress yourself out over it, because again, it's going back to remembering that it usually takes twice as long as we plan, but as long as we have a plan and we kind of set some goals for ourselves, we can kind of keep it going smoothly, and it's easy to kind of keep ourselves writing if we have this plan. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Are you ready to write? So again, in keeping with the whole atmosphere and everything, we can develop what's called a sacred writing time, quote unquote. That sounds awesome, actually, but basically, when you determine the time of day that is best for you to write, you want to keep with that. If it's 30 minutes, if it's an hour, if it's 15 minutes that you keep it, you want to keep those appointments with yourself every single day. So they can often offer new insights into your project. During these times when you're just kind of free writing for 10 minutes per day, or if you take time to research and take notes, that can be part of your sacred writing time. Things like that. Identify a time of day that's when you're most productive. So if it's 5 a.m. before you get in like your morning workout or something, or if it's 11 p.m. Right before you go to bed, things like that. And just be certain to keep this appointment with yourself, no matter what happens, no matter what. But you don't have to necessarily write on your topic every single time. Just make sure that you write every day. Also, as you're writing, don't judge yourself. Don't like, oh my gosh, this idea is dumb, or oh my gosh, I have a grammar error here. I need to go back and fix it. Like, don't worry about all of that right now, and don't worry about whether or not, you're properly supporting certain things or anything like that. Just keep writing and keep going, and like you can always return to it later. So also remember, sometimes life happens and it's hard to keep like your appointment with yourself. But if you're able to write, you can write about anything. You don't have to write about your topic again. A lot of times, keeping like a small notepad to jot down ideas, or to keep your sacred writing time when you're waiting at the doctor's office, or waiting to pick up the kids from school, etc., etc., if like things come up. Also, if you ever get frustrated or just stuck, or you don't know what to write about, you can always write about how you don't know what to write about, and that often helps to just get everything out of your brain and get your brain kind of cleared out, so that you can actually move on and keep writing and keep on with the process for your own work. Also, some things to keep in mind. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it, like I do it a lot, but like there's this binge writing where you write everything as much as you can and try to get it perfect and clean, like maybe like the night before it's due, or days before it's due even. It doesn't really work in these types of projects, even if you're setting goals for yourself, and setting kind of like and breaking the project up into pieces, mostly because, well, yeah, I mean, it usually kind of leaves you feeling sick, and then mostly because you're always uncertain of whether or not, like, you did it correctly, and you're always second guessing yourself and questioning yourself. If you allow yourself time, and if you stretch the writing over periods of time, you're able to actually go back and revise, look, rethink, think about what it is that you're writing and what it is you really want to say, and get it out clearly as possible. Yes.
Oh, one tip, we used this text called, I can't remember, but it was The Voice, and I'm a feast.
Noise, isn't it?
Voice? Oh, what?
Isn't it called noise?
I don't know. I'm a feast or famine, meaning I will binge. He said, as long as you're writing every day, do not extend, go past that 1 hour or 30 minutes that you set, because you'll burn yourself out. You take your sacred writing time, say I'm going to write 30 minutes. Even if you're on a roll, stop. I know that sounds strange, but it'll keep you from burnout, because again, I would go, well, I can crank out 3 more pages in 20 minutes, and then I'm fried. And I don't want to use my writing time the next day. I'm like, well, I wrote 3 pages yesterday, I don't have to write today. Well, no, that defeats the purpose. So just keep that in mind. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. And a lot of times, like when you get on a roll, it's hard to stop, especially because you start thinking like, well, I'm not going to remember this tomorrow, or it's not going to come out the same the next day, or something like that. But that's often a good thing, because when you go back to something that you worked on, then you realize that didn't really make a lot of sense anyway. So like, you're just trying to get it out. So it's like, but if you give yourself some time and some space, it works better. Also, remember to talk to your mentors and your writing group all the time, constantly. It'll keep you writing, it'll keep you thinking, and keep you engaged in the entire process. It's a good idea to kind of take these pieces of writing to your mentors and to your writing groups, just to kind of talk about it. A lot of times they'll bounce ideas back at you, and your writing groups, actually, I mean, that's a really good idea, because they can serve as a kind of audience for your general ideas and for your entire project, actually. So if they're not understanding something, or you need to say something more clearly or something like that, they're able to kind of tell you, okay, we'll ask you questions, things to help guide your own project. But I mean, take it all with a grain of salt, always, and such. But yes, okay.
Hi, how's it going? Okay, so my section is on Have You Hit a Wall, and it's fitting for me because I'm the classic example of staring at that blank page for hours, trying to write something, writing a sentence, erasing the sentence, writing the sentence, for very long periods of time. But the things that I have found that work are write an outline. I avoided my teachers telling me that for years, my professors later. But it helps more than anything else with organization and not leaving giant gaps in your paper that you don't notice. And also, it helps the flow of your paper, because if you get stuck in one area of it, if you're like me and don't like writing introductions or conclusions, you can start in those middle sections. You can start at a different point in your research and focus on that area. Other things that help: read through notes. Often you can reinterpret something, take a different direction with your sources. It gives you a different direction for research. Talk to someone, that's a huge one. The writing group is a great idea. I think it's the shame factor. I have one too, because if you're supposed to have 4 pages and you go without it, then they don't even have to criticize you. You just are there and you feel pathetic. So more than anything else, it just forces you, compels you to write. You can come to the Writing Center, visit with us, because like I said, we love grad student research, so we always love hearing about the research, and we'll ask you questions. The advisor, always a very useful person. I think one thing that I've always had a lot of trouble with is not insisting on perfection, and accepting the writing process or writing well takes a very long time. If you're going to write a beautiful essay, it's going to take probably 3 weeks longer than I ever allotted myself for that kind of thing. So I'm a very slow writer, which sounds strange considering I work at a writing center, but I do. I work very methodically and slowly, so I can't expect that I'll turn in 10 pages tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So it's kind of knowing yourself, knowing where your weaknesses are, and learning where those remaining weaknesses are. Sacred writing time, I've never called it that for myself, but it is something that I've adopted because I am also a binge writer. And I always thought I was most brilliant at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I got a few papers back where I found out I was not. I don't use articles at 2 o'clock in the morning, so all the A and the was missing. So don't do that. So I tend to journal at several times throughout the day just so I don't get burned out. And it sometimes helps better than giving yourself the one block, because it gives you time to think about what you wrote earlier, and just kind of keeps writing always present with you, I guess. Some strategies to keep your writing. Plan, revise your goals. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. We have a little handout. It's called Strategies for When You're Stuck. It's on the back page, I think. And here's when you're not with us, or we're not here and you're all by yourself. It looks like this. And we got this from a text, Surviving Your Dissertation. Do you have it? No? Okay.
I have.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, and we loved these ideas. Start an idea box, fill it with 3x5 cards or slips of paper where you can store good ideas for future reference. Love that. Use the idea box for noting books, articles to get from the library, good quotations, inspiration for future studies, half-baked notions that might be useful in the future, and so on. So if you're just tapped out for the day and you had some extra yesterday, you can go into your idea box and might find something in there. I love that idea. Think of your topic as a large jigsaw puzzle with a piece missing. Try to recover the piece that's missing. To discover this, try to read as much of the literature as possible in your field. Hi, Lisa. Read several well-written sample projects recommended by your mentor or your advisor. I really, really suggest that one, because that'll really guide how we're supposed to be writing. Imagine an audience of individuals who would want to know the outcome of your project. Sometimes the audience sometimes our audience isn't just our chair or our committee or whatever. Think of somebody outside of academia that might really be interested in what we're writing about, and see if you can keep that group alive in front of your eyes at all times, instead of just academia. And this is my favorite one. Michelle and I came up with this one. Imagine the last section of your writing project ended on a cliffhanger. And your audience is anxiously awaiting the next scene or installment. Give 3 interesting installments to keep them going till next time. I love that. Anyways. So those are some tips. We put it on the last page so you could take it off and have it with you. Okay, so I'm going to hand it back over to Miss Julian. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. The other thing I'd want to tell you is that if it's anything like every research project I've ever done, especially the longer ones, you're going to have to revise your direction of research as you go. Don't take it as a personal thing. Don't take it hard, because we often think I had the greatest idea, and it turns out somebody else had that great idea too. So sometimes you have to just let the baby go, as they call it. So the other one we mentioned before, be accountable, and talk about your writing as much as possible. I think that's partly the complain method, but I personally like talking to other people outside the academy about my work, because a lot of times they ask questions that we just assume people will know, and the thing I run into most as a writing consultant, or reading even within my field, is people assume that since they've studied something for 2 years that you're going to know much more about it than you do. So sometimes it helps to have that person outside who'll be willing to admit they haven't read this scholar from 1925. Noel. Okay. A few things that help. Maintain a routine. This generally helps me because if you can put off writing, I often do. I'll clean my house. I'll visit friends. I'll come up with crazy things. My grout work in my bathroom is always clean when I'm writing papers. Or you can do dramatic shifts to kind of get you out of a rut when you're writing. Change that environment if you've noticed that the environment that used to work for you isn't working anymore. The other things would be, like they said, always carry that pad and paper. I have had some interesting ideas. Mine are usually I'm asleep or half asleep, and I'll get these really creative things. About 3/4 of the time they actually make sense the next day, I'd say. Not always, but don't expect to finish on time. Dissertations, as with everything else, we always kind of have that ideal time, like, oh, most people can complete a page in an hour or a page in a day, so that should be no problem. I'll allow 7 days to finish this 10-page paper and I'll be fine. Or, well, if I have 100 pages, I'll only need, a maximum of 400 days to do that. And I've never actually managed to do that ideal time in writing. And if you're writing something as long-term and as extended as this, it's not going to work that way either. There's going to be a lot of returning to the research, a lot of changes, a lot of setbacks, and bonuses where you find something in your research that's fantastic and you pat yourself on the back. So they say usually set yourself small goals where you're saying write a page by this time, write a paragraph. I actually do the paragraph one where I reward myself after 3 paragraphs, but I'm kind of embarrassed I admitted that one now. Okay. No. I have cupcakes when I make 3 paragraphs. Okay. Things to revise later. I didn't use this one. I didn't till more recently, just because I was always taught to write in third person. It's more academic, it's more formal, but first person does help a lot for drafting. It helps you keep that fluid motion. It helps you think about the many aspects of the writing and not get so bogged down in things like, is this a good sentence? Is this well constructed? Is this going back to what I've established as my purpose for writing this? And Noel always encourages us, use lots of adjectives and adverbs, make it creative. It often helps going back. And brave statements, which are actually things like I think, I feel, I believe, things that you won't get to keep in your dissertation, but which will help you in the process toward researching. And the other thing is forget the audience of, it's this doctor who's written 6 books, or it's this renowned scholar on whatever it happens to be. Sometimes you do have to forget your audience and just consider what it is you're writing and why you're writing it, and just think about its purpose to you as opposed to anyone else. Oh, I'm also bad about this one. Use short sentences so you don't get tangled up in prose. I love prose. I fall in love with sentences, but for many of it is the thing that will keep you for hours writing one sentence just to make it look pretty. So use those short sentences. Stay to the purpose. As a good science writer, they always tell you just subject, verb, and object or verb phrase. Stay away from the pretty. Ignore grammar and surface errors. Your 2nd grade teacher isn't here, so you can go back to those later. You are the boss of your own writing. It's yours. And even if it's an idea that you're not going to keep in the end, sometimes you have to work through them to determine what you do and don't want for your paper. You can always go back and make it 3rd person and pretty and give it APA headlines if that's the case. But I think, yeah, perfect is the enemy of good, and sometimes you have to get the good before you can get the perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
So all of these are like, these are all well and good. We love them, right? All these strategies. But in like you mentioned, it's hard if you're wanting, and especially how they teach us to write in academia. It has to look this way, it has to be this way. And it really, really is about just freeing ourselves of the constraints. And like Jillian said, ignoring that academic audience and looking outside of that. Sacred writing time, I love it. Because I am not a process writer. Are you a process writer? And I should not admit that, but I am not. Are you a process writer?
I think I started when I was in grad school because we kind of have to. But yeah, before that, no. I binged all the time. 10-page papers in like a day.
And it doesn't work. And we're English majors, so we're trained to produce beautiful texts, right, that are error-free, no commas, out of place, blah, blah, blah. So we tend to revise as we write, and that hampers the writing process. So if we can just allow ourselves, we're all kumbaya and touchy-feely here, but if we can give ourselves permission to make typos and make errors and have a mess on that page, as long as it's happening during that sacred writing time, it's okay. And we can always take that and revise. Any other tips that you can think of? Your experiences as a writer? I'm going to get a handout.
Well, most of my time was spent really just reading and taking notes and talking. It's literally like 70-75% of any like writing project is what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the recurring theme that we kept bringing up was talking. Talking is the big thing. Because if you can get it from here to here, you'll be able to write about it. What kind of strategies have you used so far?
I did what is your name?
Oh, I'm Jillian.
Jillian. I did what Jillian did by starting in the middle and sort of writing my way, and sometimes I actually wrote my way backwards. You know, if I had anything chronological, I started where I was thinking a lot about it, and then I would space down and I'd put another paragraph in front of it and another one in front of it, and then when I went back and revised, then I would fill in all the area, but I just did my chronological things backwards.
That's a good idea.
Because that was the way, the place I kept thinking was right here in the middle, and I couldn't get to the beginning, so I had to think my way in reverse to do that. I've also written paragraphs, cut them up in pieces of paper, and then shuffled them around, and I loved it. I loved the jigsaw thing. I'm very visual and very artistic, and so I actually was thinking, it's this list thing is not me, and I'm being encouraged by my husband to make a list because he's a list, but I'm not a list person. So I was thinking it's more like a jigsaw puzzle to me, and I was actually thinking about going to like a teaching store and buying one of those blank jigsaws and then just sit down and write things on it and see what that did for me, so that I could get a better sense of it, because to me I'm a whole to part kind of person at times, because as a teacher I want the results at the end. And so to me, that's, you don't get to the end. Well, the end is the whole thing, but to me, you got to have the parts to get there. But what are those parts? I have to think about what those parts are. And a lot of kids are, I teach a lot of struggling readers, and a lot of kids are that whole thing and they can't break it down in parts very well. So that's what I think like that. So.
I think I'm more like you. Like I know the big picture, and I know what I want it to be at the end, and it's very hard for me to do the small chunks, and that's why I'm guilty of not being a process writer. I mean, and I've had to ditch some of that behavior because I'm killing myself. So.
I think I do that, like starting from the middle to the, like I tend to like take chunks at a time and get everything that I want to say about it like done with. I didn't really fully know and understand what my topic was until like maybe the beginning of the last semester working on my actual thesis.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, so like it was
that's encouraging.
just a matter of like grabbing everything and writing everything I could, and then just pulling everything together and finally drafting in the very end. And so yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, it's over. But yeah, no, it was like it was, I don't know, it's really difficult for me to just be clear in the head because I'm really messy and disorganized all the time with everything. So like, I don't know, it worked for me. So that jigsaw thing was really cool.
My husband is an engineer. He's linear, and you know, it's like being on a ruler. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do you know what a geodesic dome is? Geodesic dome? Well, it's made out of, it's Buckminster Fuller, I believe, designed it, and it's all these triangles, and you put all these triangles together in such a way that you actually build a building out of the, and it's like the dome. And my husband says I'm like the ping pong ball that's perpetually hitting each one of those sides on the inside, going around all the different ways. And so when I'm doing a project, you know, he's doing the linear thing and I'm doing the ping pong ball thing in my head. So trying to, but there are times that his linear thinking helps me, but then there's times that my ping pong ball, you know, helps him. Because he has projects too. But when he starts talking, he says that I say, well, what about this word here? And I'll have him help me brainstorm ideas on other words for it. And then he will say a word and I'll go, oh, okay. And then when he edits my paper, that word isn't anywhere in there, or that topic or idea isn't anywhere because the ping pong ball went doing over there and picked up something else. But the talking was what was important. It got me thinking, it stimulated the thinking that got me on the edge of something where I really wanted to go. And so when every time you're talking about how important talking it over was, that's what helps me, is talking it over. But I'm somewhat isolated from my classmates currently, so I need that. I'll be over on your doorstep. So yeah, so I'm just trying to get back into getting into the dissertation, and this was good because I see that I need to be talking, and I need to talk to I have not been talking with my advisor, and I need to really, it seems like that's important. Each of you talked about that.
Yeah. Mine's a gold line. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? Because I need one. I need
Oh.
a gold mine.
Oh, I bet you're doing better than you think you are.
Well, it's been difficult,
Yeah.
so.
But I like the puzzle idea. That's pretty cool.
love that
I have the
idea.
messier version. I have sticky notes that I have all over my desk, which frightens everyone who comes to visit me. But the puzzle sounds a little cooler than that.
I just thought maybe I could get out of my place and go get the puzzle, see, and then that would help me because I could do it away from my environment. Because sometimes I go to Starbucks or I go to a library or I have to get out of where I am or I come over here. I have to change that environment because if I start staying in the same place all the time, then I start not writing at all,
Yeah.
or not thinking, or cleaning the tile, the ground. I can do that, yes, or cooking. Yeah, I love
yeah.
cooking. Yeah, I've gained 5 pounds in the last month.
Whenever I do long-term research, I gain weight. Yeah.
We all do.
Oh. Yeah. Cupcakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the cupcake, if I go buy a cupcake, I'm embarrassed in public, so I only eat one.
One, yes.
But at home, if I make some, then I'll have them all.
No, the rut thing is true. I do that too. I eat my cupcake at Starbucks so that I don't try to eat several of them and stay up all night binge writing. So, yeah. Oh, the shame.
I was just remembering when we were in grad school in the
Yes.
English program, all of us put on weight, and we always talked about like, I ate so many cupcakes last night, Jillian, or
Cupcakes have been a long part of my life.
And you've dealt with that now?
Yeah. For the most part, I fall off the wagon once in a while, but journaling, where I do it in sections, does help with the
That
with the
idea
cupcakes.
sounded
Yeah.
good to me, even if I just took my notebook and went different places and journaled.
It does.
You
yeah.
had a lot of good ideas in here that, and the thing is that it's better to have many ideas because one might not work that day, but it would work on a different day.
Do you know what you were saying something about that you have to change up your environment?
Yes.
Do you know what your process kind of is? I think it's on the back page. Like, do you know what you typically do before you start writing? Like, I hem-haw, meaning I'll yell, I'll whine, I'll tell everybody it's not fair. I don't like my
Oh.
topic. I don't like, whatever it is I'm doing. And then I'll have to I'll just finally throw a fit, smoke a pack of cigarettes, and shut myself into a room.
I was thinking, oh, I don't want to take that up.
No, it's not a suggestion. but and then end up locking myself, and that's my process. That's like everybody knows that's my process, and everybody stays clear of me around that time. That's how I start. Do you know what sort of your habits are before you start to write?
No, because I'm changing all the time. The best, I guess I can say, Starbucks, Java chip frappuccino, venti. And I do go to Starbucks a lot. Like today I almost bought 2 different drinks. I got done with the green tea, healthy thing. I thought, no, I think I'm needing chocolate, but I decided to leave instead of doing the chocolate. But, I was having a really hard time. Sometimes, depending on my day, it's really important for me to have it really noisy and to try to ignore things because then I go into a little zone in my head, and some days I have to have it really quiet. So I'm not real consistent, but I have to try to be in tune to what am I for the day and not go back to bed. And so that's why I go out, because if I get stressed, then I want to just go back to sleep. And that's why I go somewhere else. And I don't have an office, so other than at home. So I go out.
I have an office, just second bedroom. It's the office, and I haven't been in there. I even moved from my other place, And because it has the desk, and I've got an association with the pain, the door is closed, I don't go in there. Like you, I happen to just be like, wherever it is, as long as it's not in that room. That's my thing. Like, I ruined that room. I don't know. I need to burn the furniture in there.
Well, we had a big house and we had an estate sale and sold everything practically, about 3/4 of our belongings. So now we're in this tiny little apartment, and now I'm already tired of being in the tiny apartment.
Yeah.
So I definitely have to get out and go somewhere else now.
Well, are you taking classes in May?
No, I was going to ask tell me about your special thing that you have in May.
Yes. In May, we're having a writing retreat. And here are the registration forms. And basically, all it is we're going to be here. There's going to be staff on hand, but we're going to set the environment up for you to write. And it's just designated writing time. We're not going to interrupt you unless you want to be interrupted, unless you need help. We'll provide all the resources here. We'll feed you. And if and it's a $50 fee, but you get the $50 back if you complete the 20 hours. And it's 5 days for 4 hours a day.
And it's before I go to Europe. So this is good. And are there cupcakes?
We will get you cupcakes. If you come, we will bring you some cupcakes.